Now before we get to the Bake, we must first address the Neko. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy here today to review the somewhat prequel to Bakemonogatari titled Nekomonogatari Kuro. Now, Nekomonogatari Kuro takes place during Japan's Golden Week, and for those who aren't familiar with Golden Week, it's basically a series of holidays all spread out in 1 week between April and May, and basically explores how Hanekawa, the student council president, got possessed by a cat demon that we saw in Bakemonogatari, and how the main character, Araragi, deals with it. Yup. Now, in my poorly worded and terribly executed review of Bakemonogatari back in 2012, I mentioned this little tidbit. And not only that, but this anime is a bait and switch. Like in the first episode, they had this 30-second long scene where it's like all these fast cut action scenes and you're like, wow, I'm in for one hell of an interesting anime. And what we later find out is that that action scene actually happened, but they decided not to tell that story and tell this story, and I'm like, why? That story was 10 times more interesting and compelling than the story that you're telling right now. I was more interested in that 30-second scene in the first episode than I was in the entire 15 episodes of this anime. Needless to say, I was pretty damn curious to check this anime out, especially since I was planning on rewatching Bakemonogatari this month, and I remembered that the first few minutes of the first episode had some of the most intense, awesome, fascinating, interesting, and memorable moments in the entire Bakemonogatari anime. And I was like, God, they should make that into an anime instead of the one that we saw. And so when I heard that they made a prequel to Bakemonogatari, in the back of my mind I was thinking, oh my God, is it gonna be everything that we saw in the first few minutes? Is it gonna be really cool, really intense, show us some of the action that they've been promising? Is it gonna be like that? Is that what Nekomonogatari is gonna be like? Sadly, no. No, it is not. In fact, the prequel series is just like how I remembered Bakemonogatari being like, and I'm pretty damn sure you all remember how I felt about that anime. Now keep this in mind, I don't hate this anime and I don't think that it's a terrible anime. It's just I didn't find it all that interesting and I wasn't invested in it whatsoever. It's just not my cup of tea, much like Bakemonogatari. In fact, all of my opinions, both good and bad, nearly mirror my opinions on Bakemonogatari. Starting off with the good, the visuals are still amazing. They look really good and the animation is fantastic. It still has a very unique visual style. And just like Bakemonogatari, the anime gave us some really brief moments of action. Or should I say action, because it wasn't two characters duking it out. It was more like one character hit another character, and that's the end of the action right there. It looked good, but it wasn't enticing or engaging. There were quite a few interesting elements brought up in the anime, like a Bake Neko, which is an aberration that poses as a dead cat to trick people into burying it, and then once it's buried, it possesses the person that buried it and makes them act out of character. That was really fascinating and shined a light on Japanese folklore, which I always love learning about. We also got to see some of Araragi's amazing healing abilities. It was actually pretty cool. Like in one episode, he got his arm chopped off and then he just puts it back on like it was no big deal. That was actually pretty interesting. You know, we got to at least see some of his powers incorporated in this anime. And finally, the anime explores more on the character of Hanekawa. We learn more about this character, what her personality is like, what her home life is like, the stress that she deals with, and how she obtained the cat demon powers. But as much as Nekomonogatari Kuro shares many of the pros that Bakemono had, it also shares many of the issues that I had with Bakemono. The biggest one being is that there is way too much talking going on. Now, I don't have a problem with dialogue-heavy animes or movies. Hell, I'm a big fan of Quentin Tarantino, and a majority of his films rely heavily on dialogue. But it's the execution of the dialogue and the use of the medium. And what I mean by that is that I find it bitterly ironic that this show, for all of its amazing and spectacular visuals at its dismantle, relies heavily on drawn-out conversations and explanations on certain things rather than just showing us or summing up the conversation in 1 or 2 minutes, which can easily be done. And before any of you say it, I know that they do play heavily on puns and play on words in Japanese, which is totally fine. But if you don't understand it, it really won't have an impact on you, now will it? There are literally scenes in this anime that drag on for nearly 10 to 12 minutes, almost half of the episode's runtime, pertaining to one certain topic that could have easily been summed up in about 5 minutes or less, or even a sentence or two. Like, there's a scene in the first episode where Araragi is talking to one of his sisters, and that scene can be summed up as, "What is love? Baby, don't hurt me!" And boy, does this anime love to constantly tease you with the prospect of actually getting to see something interesting. Like, they would have dialogue scenes where they would go into great detail on how powerful a character is, or a battle between two characters, instead of, I don't know, actually showing it to us. Again, this is a visual medium, guys. Utilize it. This isn't a book where you have to describe everything to us so that we can paint the picture in our heads. You're a visual medium. You are an anime. Show, don't tell! Like, throughout the anime, this one blonde character by the name of Oshino goes into great detail on how powerful Hanekawa is. Like, she has these amazing abilities, but you don't get to see it for yourself. Yeah, sure, there are moments where you see her be badass, but that's not really showcasing her powers. That doesn't show me anything. Anyone probably could have done that. Hell, maybe Araragi could have done that. And also, Oshino gets into fights with Hanekawa in her cat demon form, and we never see the fights. We see the aftermath of the fight, and I was just like, wow, really? Fuck you. Why are you telling me about the fight? Show me the fight! The characters in this anime, besides Hanekawa, are all forgettable and hollow. Not a single one of them stood out, and they're all pretty unlikable. And I know that wasn't the case. You were actually supposed to like these characters, but a majority of them just came off as really detestable. Especially our main character of Araragi. I mean, he's kind of a dick in this anime. Like, there's this one scene where Hanekawa is opening up to Araragi, you know, sharing something really personal and very tragic, and Araragi's response is so inappropriate, it kind of pissed me off. And I know they kind of were doing it as a setup to a joke and to be kind of shocking in a sense, but it just didn't work. It made the character come off as a scumbag. And we were supposed to feel a connection between Araragi and Hanekawa. Maybe not in a romantic sense, but in a friendship sense. Like, they were growing closer and they were bonding with each other. But it was non-existent. The climax to this anime was extremely underwhelming, especially since it looked like it was building up to an epic and emotional climax, and all we got was like some exchanges here and there and a little tussle, and then it was over. Seriously, what kind of lackluster ending was that? And the last issue I had, and this can be seen as a nitpick to some people, and it also ties back into what I said earlier about the characters being absolutely unlikable. And that's the fact that this anime right here victim shames a character. Yeah, you heard that right. Now, I don't like bringing up SJW PC topics on this channel, but I couldn't help but be incredibly shocked that this anime actually had the gall to make characters victim shame another character. I was like, what? I found it so appalling. Like, there's a character in this anime that gets physically abused by their parents, and in the last episode, another character says, the reason for that physical abuse is because of that character. It's the character's fault that it got hit by their parents. Not the parents' fault. No. It's the character's fault because the character was just so nice and so tender that the parents just couldn't help but hit that character because they were so nice and tender. Are you fucking serious? And they make it seem like that's a valid point. Like, oh, you make a really good point. Yeah, it is that character's fault that they got physically abused by their parents. Anime. That's fucked up. That is fucked up. How did they get away with that? How was no one pissed off about that? If anything, that is the one thing in this anime that pissed me off the most. That they actually victim shamed a character. And again, I don't bring up a lot of those really touchy issues, but when you victim shame a character, when it's clearly not that character's fault, I'm sorry, but you're an asshole. You are 100% an asshole. And this anime is an asshole for victim shaming a character and feeling proud about it. Overall, while Nekomonogatari Kuro has a few good merits to it, it just gets overshadowed and downplayed by its many major flaws. And it just comes off as an incredibly dull experience. And that's why, sadly, I'm gonna give this anime a 2 out of 5 stars. It's an easily forgettable anime, and after this review, I'll never think of Nekomonogatari Kuro ever again. And now, I'm really scared to see Bakemonogatari, because considering my thoughts on its prequel, I have a sneaking suspicion that my thoughts and feelings for Bakemonogatari have not changed whatsoever. Please prove me wrong. But as always, guys, I'm not the end-all be-all opinion when it comes to this anime or even to this series. I know there's a lot of you out there that are huge fans of the Monogatari series and think that it's one of the best anime series ever created. So I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on my review and also on Nekomonogatari Kuro. Did you really like it? Did you think it's the best in the franchise? Or were you like me and just found it really dull and lackluster? Let me know, what is your favorite dialogue-heavy anime? Comment below and let me know, and stay tuned tomorrow as I will be releasing my most anticipated re-review this month, which is on Bakemonogatari. So until then, guys, if you like to see more on this channel and be a part of the Black Critic crew, if you don't hate my guts already, please hit that subscribe button below, like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm Tony Watt II, the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube!